it is illegal for the landlord to do as such. Now, typically people resort to such measures because they have bad tenants and the tenants are not paying rent or they're fed up with their tenants. This is not a legal recourse. Hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate as well as Remax Realtron Realty Inc. back with another video today. I'm going to continue my series of explaining tenancy laws, things that I get questioned on the most. Go on my channel, you can find other videos about tenants and landlords, and not just the series, what landlords should know, what tenants should know, illegal activity from the landlords, illegal activity from the tenants, how to pick tenants, all the videos about landlord, tenants, and tenancy on my channel. So go watch those. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about something that a lot of people assume you can do as a landlord, and a lot of tenants even assume as such, but you actually can't, which is changing locks on tenants. Now, let me make a distinction here. You can change, as a landlord, you can change the locks on your commercial tenant, meaning if you are renting a commercial property and you are a commercial landlord, and you know the distinction between residential and commercial can get convoluted at times, but it's pretty clear to me. So in commercial tenancy, this law differs. A commercial landlord can change locks on a tenant. That's a different story. For our purposes, residential tenancy, because we are going based on the Residential Tenancies Act, which I will link into the description, and perhaps if I feel like it, there will be a picture of it on the screen, maybe not. But according to the Residential Tenancy Act, which is the legislation that governs and regulates all residential tenancies, about 95% of them in Ontario, the landlord cannot change the locks on a tenant. It is illegal for the landlord to do as such. Now, typically people resort to such measures because they have bad tenants and the tenants are not paying rent or they're fed up with their tenants. This is not a legal recourse. According to the Residential Tenancies Act, once again, it's not a legal recourse for landlords to go to those measures. The only time it is legal for a landlord to change locks on a tenant is when that individual has been evicted through a legal process, and they can only do it, the landlord can only change the locks in the presence of a sheriff. And that whole process is a long process. You know, you have to give an eviction or an order of termination, then an order of eviction, then go to the landlord tenant board. And there's a lot of red tape and steps, but it gets to the point where then you go to the sheriff, and the sheriff kicks the tenants out, and then you can change the locks. But before that, it is legal, void, unenforceable for the landlord, no matter how bad the tenant is, to change the locks. Now, if the landlord wants to change the locks for other reasons, even if the tenant requests it for security reasons, if it's for purposes that have nothing to do with a bad relationship between the two parties, that individual can, meaning the landlord can change the locks. However, they need to give up to 48 hours notice. Need to give up to 48 hours notice and provide the new tenant with a new set of keys as soon as possible. And typically, in my experience, in practice, what actually happens, because I've worked with many renters, with many landlords in residential tenancy, what typically happens is the landlord asks the tenant to do it themselves and hire someone themselves, and typically they repay the tenants once the tenant has conveyed some sort of receipt and proof of a certificate that the job has been done. So the tenant does it themselves, and then the tenant is the one that provides the keys to the landlord. And obviously this is when the tenant wants to change the locks and when the landlord wants to change the locks. Basically what I'm saying is landlords typically outsource these type of measures, if it's a maintenance measure, or in the case of changing locks, the changing of locks, they typically outsource this to the tenants themselves, and the tenants just get it done and get repaid and remunerated by the landlord, and convey the keys to the landlord then, right? So yeah, that's the law regarding changing locks. You cannot change locks unless you give 24 to 48 hours notice and provide your new tenants, or rather, sorry, provide the tenants with a new set of keys. So that's the video for today. Please subscribe, comment, rate, and review. I appreciate it all and any feedback I get, even negative, right? So stay in touch. My contact information in the description box. Thank you for watching.